So, Andy, is there any prerequisites to what this conflict shock might look like? Because we specifically want to be working with business owners. Would something like
Right.
the failing of a business or a business partner doing the dirty and stealing business from you or something like that, would that
Oh,
be something like that?
absolutely. Yes. Any sort of, well, so look at it this way. It's anything that catches you unexpected. You weren't expecting it at all, catches you unaware, you're caught on the wrong foot, and it's isolating. So it's something that you're focused on it. It's like, oh
Mm,
my God, the accountant just ran away with all the money. Well, you're not going to just go and play a round of golf. You're going to be focused on this.
mm,
So when it fits those criteria, then there's a good chance that a biological conflict shock has begun. A biological program has begun. So yeah.
wow. So we
So
could almost say, oh, sorry, continue.
no, I was going to say, the loss of money, your building blows up or burns down. Anything that's unexpected, caught you on the wrong foot, it's isolating, you're focused on it, anything.
Mm. Wow. So, and then you could say that because then the biological program would run, sickness in quotation starts to show up in the body. So we could almost say that sickness is the messenger.
Well, the sickness only shows up after it's all resolved. It's all said and done. You've moved past it. You've built the building. You've caught the accountant who took your money, and it resolves. And now you go into that healing phase, which is what we call being sick. So it's after the fact, but we don't know that. We think, oh, there's something wrong with me. I'm sick. I've got a virus. I've got this or that. And then we take drugs to suppress that. Not in our best interest. Yeah.
Then the
I
healing.
remember there's I think it's Bruce Lipton was actually talking about this in the beliefs in how the brain works, that when we're in that flight or fight mode and we're in that protection mode that you were talking about,
Yeah.
Our brains override the limbic brain overrides the prefrontal cortex, and we actually go into that protection mode. But when we're in that mode, our immune systems are broken down really quickly, or we're in a susceptible mode for our immune system to actually not be operating. So that's when, and we become, it's a different take, but your way you're explaining it makes so much more sense.
It's his best explanation without knowing GHK. And he actually, I believe, does know GHK, but he's coming at it with more an allopathic slant to it, unfortunately.
What is that? Allopathic, what is that?
Modern medicine.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Conventional medicine, whatever you want to call it. What is taught in hospitals right now, in med schools. Yeah.
So did Dr. Harmer's, you said this was without exception 100% of the time. So he tried this with different conditions and different, let's call them the healing phases then, and found that they were all similar sort of things or all happening the same way.
Right, exactly. That the body knows exactly what it's doing.
Mm.
And it's only in about, 80% of cases or so, if that need intervention. Most of the time we don't.
Wow. And what would intervention look like?
Sometimes it might be appropriate to have surgery.
I just asked, well, you think you answered that there. What would intervention look like?
Yeah, it could be that you do need some surgery. It means that you might need, a round of antibiotics to save your life. It might mean you need some sort of therapy.
Mm.
But again, it's in a small percentage of people. For the most part, our bodies know exactly what to do.
Andy, Alex and I have been our own greatest clients. So when we work tremendously on ourselves, and I'm sure you have as well. There's some situation or something you'd be comfortable sharing, just to show us how this worked for you?
Sure, absolutely. This is actually in my course. I do some case studies in my basic course, which is called Beyond Holistic Medicine. And this is a case study that's myself. And in this case, I had low back pain for several years, about 5 or 6 years. I was newly married as well, and realized that, once I learned GHK, I'm like, okay, what is this low back pain? Why do I have this every day? And it was worse about 4 o'clock in the morning. It would wake me up, very painful. And then by about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it was all gone. What is that? So I started studying GHK and really looking at, all right, so you have to kind of work backwards. So my healing phase is 4 o'clock in the morning. That's when you have symptoms. So I have to back up from there to figure out what's making me conflict active. And I didn't even know which program was running. It could have been one of 2 programs, but I didn't know that. So then I started to look at, well, what happens in the evening? If this happens every morning, what happens every evening? And at this point in my life, I was running my wellness center, and I was very, very busy, working 60 hours a week. I would get home at the end of the day and be exhausted. Well, my husband is not a cook. And so I would then have to cook a dinner. And I really resented that. The last thing I wanted to do was cook a dinner. I just wanted to sit down and eat and relax. My husband had been home for 4 hours at this point every day. So I'm like, okay, maybe let's see if that's it. So it's like, how am I going to change my relationship to this? How will I just change this so that I don't get triggered? And so the next night I came home from work, and normally what I realized is that when I'm chopping vegetables, I'm in my head, it's like, I couldn't have done this. Why couldn't dinner be ready?
Don't put a knife in your hands, eh?
I'm going through the litany of all the, throw daggers at him type thing, with words, but it was all in my head. Nothing came out really. So I thought, well, I've got to change that, because maybe I'm making myself conflict active by running this old tape that I'm just so resentful that he hasn't made dinner. So the next night I came home, and it's like, all right, I'm going to do gratitude for everything he's done for me. I am so grateful he mowed the lawn, because I don't mow the lawn. I'm so grateful he fed the cat. I'm so grateful he did my laundry and he folded it. I am so grateful. And I went on. And those were my mantras over and over again that first night. The next morning, no pain. It never came back.
As simple as that.
Simple as that. So the difference here is this is a biological program that runs a full course in 24 hours. There are some that don't, that are much more chronic. Think of a skin rash. It doesn't go away every day like my back pain did. So that we have to treat that a little differently than we treat the one that does resolve every single day. So it resolved after dinner. After dinner, I'm no longer, upset with him. So it all resolved by, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. And then I'm in my healing phase, and with the incredible PCL phase, 3 or 4 in the morning. And then that finished. And it turned out to be the kidney collecting tubule program. And I had back pain from my kidneys. It was a kidney infection every day for 6 years, if you want to call it that with the old language. So once I was able to figure this all out, I put it to bed, we put it to rest, and it never came back.
Wow.
That's how we do this.
So at 3 or 4 in the morning, is that when we're most relaxed, would you say?
Well, for me, it fit the timeline. So I had cell growth in the conflict active phase. So by the time I got home until the few hours later when dinner was all done, I was conflict active for that amount of time. So I had a certain amount of cell growth. Once I resolved it, there's a certain amount of time it needs to break down. And for me, it was always around 3 or 4 in the morning. If I had been conflict active for longer, it might have been later in the morning.
Yeah, right. Okay.